It's a great honor to be here with you today. It's always a challenge following a boring speaker like Gerd, but this is a great honor. I created this quote here. This is kind of an invitation for you to join into the future, to come into the future. Dip your toe in, the water's fine. Come on in and join. All right. I would like to start off by showing a short video that I think all of you have seen, but then I want to tell you a story about this short video. So we're gonna dive in here and just start with this quick video here. All right. Is there a way that we can get the video working? All right. Not working either. Isn't technology wonderful? Okay.
We apologize, we're having some small technological
One more time here. All right, we're going to jump into this short video, and then I'll tell you a story about this. Now, for those of you that's seen that that cartoon series, The Jetsons, a lot of the buildings look like the Space Needle that's was in Seattle. That was no coincidence. The people the architects that were working on the Space Needle were in close communication with the writers, the designers of the Jetsons at the time. See, the Jetsons were actually created in 1962, and the Space Needle was being developed for the 1962 World's Fair in Seattle. So some of the things that I didn't know about the Jetsons, though, is that while it was created in 1962, it was intended to portray life in 2062, 100 years in the future. Now, I was asked to participate in a project where they asked us if we were to recreate the intro to the Jetsons based on what we know today about 2062, how would we go about portraying that? So they brought in Hollywood filmmaker Justin Lin, and this is the people at the Arconics Corporation that were asking this. Now, the Arconics Corporation is a spin-off of Alcoa Aluminum, and they wanted to use this as a marketing play to establish themselves as being on the cutting edge of the future. So they brought in 4 of us advisors, Kevin Kelly, Adrian Hahn, Annalisa Cager, and myself. And so we actually worked on this, and this is the updated version of the Jetsons as we saw it just a couple of years ago. Let me get a bottle. Let me get a bottle.
Here's Boy Elroy. Daughter Judy. Jane is right.
So that was our version of the future in 2062. We'll have to wait a couple of years to find out how accurate we were. But basically, the message here is our understanding of the future is constantly changing. So let me ask you a few questions here. Will most people own their own robots in 2040? What will the work-from-home experience be in 2040? Will we be working in offices like this in our homes, maybe like this, or maybe like this one? I kind of like that one. How will we interact with other people? What will our displays look like? What will our social gatherings look like? If we need new furniture in our house, will we be able to project an image of this new furniture into the house to see what it would look like there before we actually purchase it? If our robots wash our dishes for us, will we actually need to own dishwashers? If robots prepare healthy, personalized food for us, will we still be inclined to go out to restaurants? Or will we be more likely to entertain guests at home? So what happens when robot stand-up comedians are actually funnier than humans are? And how long before robot brewmasters start replacing humans? And by the way, how old do robots have to be before they can drink? See, we're a very backward-looking society. We're backward-looking because it's just human nature. See, we've all personally experienced the past. We look around us and we see evidence of the past all around us. In fact, all information we come into contact with is essentially history. So the past is very knowable, and yet we're going to be spending the rest of our lives in the future, so it's almost as if we're walking backwards into the future. My job as a futurist is to help turn people around, give them some idea of what the future might hold. So how does the future get created? The future gets created in the minds of everybody around us. We all participate in creating the future. Certainly some of us have more influence than others. But people make decisions today based on their understanding of what the future holds. So I use this phrase quite a bit. The future creates the present. Now this is just the opposite of what most people think. Most people think that what we're doing today is somehow going to create the future, but from a little different perspective, it's these images that we have in our head of the future determine our actions today. So here's the key thing that you need to take with you. If we change somebody's vision of the future, we change the way they make decisions today. So that's my goal here. My goal is to change your vision of the future, and as a result, you will walk out of here making different decisions. I get asked a lot if I have a crystal ball. Yes, I do have a crystal ball. It was sitting around at home, and my wife said one day, "Why don't you just take this to the office? It's just collecting dust." So I put my crystal ball in the front seat of my car. And I was no more than 4 or 5 minutes down the road, and I looked over and I saw that my crystal ball had actually started a fire on the seat next to me. Now this is a crystal ball is actually a giant lens, and with the sun shining in, it actually caught some of the papers underneath on fire. Luckily, I was able to put it out, and it didn't cause any serious damage. But then I had a revelation, and the revelation was that the next day, the newspaper headlines were going to say, "Futurist killed by his own crystal ball." And he didn't see it coming. So that's my disclaimer. I don't see everything. So the main reasons companies fail is because they miss the future. That's what Larry Page said from Google. I happen to agree with that. I think lots of companies are missing a good picture of the future. So during COVID, my project, I decided to take on a project like many of us did. And so I wrote this book and turned it into a course. It's called Future Like a Boss. This is all the different futuring techniques that I developed over the years. And it includes different techniques like signs of the future, question mapping, backcasting, the tool of first, situational futuring techniques, attractionary futuristic, systems thinking, and PCAX. Now I'm just going to use a couple of these techniques here in the presentation today. The first one is question mapping, and as I was asking questions earlier, that's a piece of it. Situational futuring trends, that we will go through a little bit of that as well. But I was thinking a while back about, we have all of this technology is giving us additional capabilities. And so there should be some way of actually thinking through these additional capabilities. So I put together the 3 laws of exponential capabilities. The first law is that with automation, every exponential decrease in effort creates an equal and opposite exponential increase in capabilities. So to put that in perspective, in 1850, the average speed that people were going anywhere in the world was about 6 kilometers per hour. So that mostly just walking. There were some horses then, there were some carriages, some trains, but not many. And then by 1900, that doubled because there was more, there were a few cars, more trains. And then in 1950, that actually went up, it tripled, up to 36 kilometers per hour. So in 1850, your entire lifetime, you would go roughly 110,000 kilometers. That's the distance you would travel over your entire life. Now, in 2000, because there are so many more cars and people flying, then we got up to 110 kilometers per hour. And then if you follow that trend line, by 2050, we should actually get to somewhere around 335, 340 kilometers per hour. And then over our lifetime, we'll travel roughly 11 million miles. So going from 110,000 kilometers to 111 million kilometers, that's radical exponential change in our capabilities. So law number 2 is that as we raise the bar for our achievements, we also reset the norm for our expectations. And law number 3 is today's significant accomplishments become more common. Mega accomplishments will take their place. And we're seeing that today. We're seeing lots of mega accomplishments spring to life. A lot of you know about Palm Island. The largest statue in the world was constructed recently in India. To give you some perspective on this, you can see how big the Statue of Liberty is in New York City compared to this statue in India. We're seeing things like the Sphere in Las Vegas. This is the Vessel in New York City. We're working on things like colonizing Mars. So from rethinking skyscrapers to rethinking our homes, the future of cities will range from micro-industries to mega projects and everything in between. So let me mention a couple things about digital twins to help put this in perspective here. So in 2013, Dr. Janice Burzek, who at the time was vice president of Fairchild Semiconductors in the Bay Area, he put together an event called the Trillion Sensor Summit. Now, he invited people from all over the world from the sensor industry, so he brought in roughly 250 attendees from 100 different businesses in 40 different countries. They came into Stanford University, and they were tasked with actually charting out how long it would be before we reached the first trillion sensors in the world. As it turned out, they projected that it's going to be this year. This year, 2024, is when we reach the first trillion sensors in the world. So I've been tracking this, and everybody says that we're right on track, so nobody's actually keeping count. It's hard to count to a trillion, so we're roughly there. But then they also projected that by 2036, we will have 100 trillion sensors in the world. Now, what does this mean? 100 trillion sensors in the world means that sensors are going to be very tiny, very ubiquitous, very easy to mass produce, very inexpensive, and we're going to have sensors everywhere. We start embedding sensors in the walls of our buildings. We put them on our body. We put them on the sides of our cars. We have sensors literally everywhere. So this is a picture of micro skin sensors. This is more realistic kind of patch that we put on somebody, and this monitors all kinds of body functions. Lots of information coming and going. So the coming wave of sensors will spawn countless new industries, including digital twins, Internet of Things, and our emerging spatial web. So digital twins started as a way to model physical devices and structures, but it's evolved into much more than that. So when you put sensors on pieces of equipment, whether it's a front-end loader like this, or whether it's a cruise ship, or whether it's a turbine in a power plant, we are able to monitor this equipment literally on the other side of the planet and know what's going on. And we can start anticipating when the repairs need to be made and things like that. So as this technology has progressed, we not only want to monitor these things, we also want to control it. And this has become known as remote robotics. And we're starting to see lots of things like remote robotics enabling surgeons to perform surgeries with the Da Vinci surgical machine literally thousands of kilometers away. John Deere has their driverless tractor now that enables farmers to farm a long ways away. And so it brings up lots of questions. At what point do we no longer need to have the operator inside the vehicle? And then another good question is, how much longer will pilots still need to fly inside of the planes? Now, if pilots are no longer inside the planes, that actually changes the security equation for flying around the world. And how long before digital twin technology is common with humans? How long before doctors can monitor somebody's health remotely through their digital twin? And at what point can we use digital twins to map out what we're knowledgeable about and what areas we're still deficient in? So let's think about the evolution of media consumption, because we've been, this world of media has been evolving over the years. So back in the 1920s, 1940s, that was the radio era. People would sit around their living room listening to the radio. And then as soon as the television came, we replaced the radio with the television, and people would gather around the living room listening, watching their television. And then we got into the cable TV, VCR era, and then computers entered our lives in the digital age. Mobile streaming came along. Then we got into virtual reality. That's kind of the era we're in right now. And then moving forward, we're going to have something like the spatial web. Still a bit undefined, but it's going to be three-dimensional. It won't be just the two-dimensional. So if we think about what will the act of watching television be in 2040, just something that we're all very familiar with, watching television, is it going to be this giant appliance in the front of the room? Will it be a projected image? Will it be digital wallpaper? Will it be three-dimensional? Can we interact with this three-dimensional image that's going up there? Can we change the characters so they look like our family and friends? Can we change the plot of the movie or the video that we're watching? And then what will it be like playing online games in 2040? We're having a hard time imagining those type of things at the moment. So let's think about the evolution of education. Technology is changing the way we learn. Future industries will define the skills needed by tomorrow's workforce. Future skills are driving future education. At the same time, innovations are being parsed into far smaller pieces. And then bold companies are instantly triggering the need for talented people with skills aligned to grow with cutting-edge industries. There is no one-size-fits-all formula for education. If somebody's going to learn to be a bricklayer, they actually need to go out and lay bricks. If somebody's going to be a plumber, they actually need to work with the pipes and the soldering and all that. Technology will dramatically change the way that learning takes place. And traditional colleges will face unusual forms of competition. We don't even know what that might look like. Certainly not like this. AI and our personal cloud. So by 2040, people will start wearing smart glasses like I have on, or smart contacts, and they will record everything that we see and everything that we hear. And as we tie a few sensors into these things, and suddenly they're going to be recording everything we touch and feel and smell and taste, all of that human experience will be recorded. And we're going to save all of this in our own personal cloud. Every person will be connected to their personal cloud. Just imagine what that will look like. See, AI, there's lots of ways that we describe AI, but I look at it as a human amplifier. It amplifies our capabilities. But to put that in perspective, every new technology has a way of amplifying human capabilities. So when we had the light bulb, or we had the steam engine, or plastics, or printing press, or video projectors, all of these things, including smartphones, all of these things amplified our capabilities, but AI will be the most powerful amplifier of all times, at least up till today. We might have something bigger coming down the pike here. So our personal cloud will become the AI engine that drives our future. Our personal cloud will become the digital twin of our mind. And then we have to create a quick interface so that we can interface with that and recall things that we read 10 years ago or speeches that we made 5 years ago. Anything that we experience, we'll be able to recall, and then that changes virtually everything. So we won't have to spend so much time trying to commit everything to memory. We'll automatically have that for us. So how long before we have a seamless interface with digital twin that enables us to have perfect recall of everything we've experienced? And our digital twin bots will coach us through a conversational interface as well as through other mnemonic cues. So this brings up this topic of the AI bots. And there's lots of ways to think about the AI bots. We're going to have these bots that have become part of our life, our daily routines. But I'm going to describe 4 different bots here. The first one is the AI buddy bot. We'll wake up in the morning, and this is the bot that we start talking to. It'll greet us in the morning. We'll develop a friendly rapport, responding to positive exchanges and jokes and happiness, as well as negative exchanges with frustration and anger. The AI buddy bot will be your personal buddy, your best friend, that person you can tell your most intimate secrets to, confide in, and share your hopes and dreams. It'll be your personal therapist, your cheerleader, the protector, the guardian of your privacy, and conversational coach. It'll be the friend you always wished you had, the source of unlimited information, and your single most valuable possession. So the average person today is consuming information 12 hours a day. A lot of it we're just listening to music, we're reading books, looking newspapers, having conversations with friends. But we currently have no way of monitoring the salient pieces of information being added to our working memory. So the AI assessment bot will assess these human experiences and be able to actually guide us along and assess what we've learned. The assessment bot will know when we've completed a learning experience, be able to assess how much was learned and award microcredits. And I'll explain microcredits in a little bit here. Now it'll know where your passions lie, what topics you're interested in, what your objectives are, and what success looks like to you. The coach bot will come in after the assessment bot, will understand your situation, help clarify your goals, and suggest ways for you to make good decisions. It will step you through the options and support your decisions. So then the AI teacher bot, whenever there's a skill deficiency or an unmet curiosity, the teacher bot will step in and suggest possible solutions. It will know how to schedule a training, what prerequisites might be needed, what's sinking in and what isn't, and when you've met your objectives. This brings up this idea of an alternative credentialing system. I've been playing around with this concept for quite a few years, and so this is what I've come up with. And it's all right to poke holes in this, but we're long overdue for having an alternative credentialing system. So let me explain it this way. If somebody reads 1,000 books, is that the equivalent of a college degree? How about if somebody watches 1,000 movies? How about if they listen to a couple thousand hours of podcasts? Certainly it depends on the quality of the podcasts, the movies, and the books, but this learning, this information that you're consuming is worth more than 0, which is what it's currently rated at. So traditional educational metrics tend to undervalue learning gained from informal education. So by redefining education with microcredits, we can better harness today's collective and intellectual capital. So we will know where we'll know where your passions lie, what topics you're interested in, what your objectives look like, what success looks like to you. Okay. All right, let's see if we can get the video back on here.
This is the video, yeah?
Yeah, it's not showing up here though. Okay, there we go. All right. All right, I don't have to touch anything here. I better learn that. Yeah, it'll know where your passions lie. It'll know what topics we're interested in, what your objectives are, and what success looks like to you. So education doesn't end in college. It becomes a lifelong mission. So emerging technologies will create a lifetime of learning opportunities moving forward. Now we're talking about alternative credentialing systems, and this whole idea of devising a new way to measure the entire scope of a person's unique competencies is long overdue. So a new equivalency scale will translate microcredits into traditional education achievements. Now here's the formula that I'm working with here. So 100 microcredits will equal 1 college credit. So to put that into terms that you all understand, 1 microcredit will equal 30 minutes of learning. It actually translates into 27 minutes of learning, but we decided to make it 30 minutes because it makes it easier to work with. So an associate's degree will be 3,000 hours of learning. The equivalent of a bachelor's will be another 3,000 hours. The equivalent of a master's is another 3,000. And the equivalent of a PhD is another 3,000. So then creating a new way of actually naming these achievement levels rather than associates, bachelors, masters, etc., decided to actually name these degree levels after famous people. So the first level will be the Archimedes degree. That's the AA degree. The Socrates degree will be the BA degree. And then it goes down and you get into the Leonardo da Vinci degree, which is a PhD. Madame Curie will be PhD +1. And the Nicholas Copernicus degree will be a PhD +2. Now, we've actually created a chart that lists all of them down to up to number 50. And so we'll have degrees by Ludwig von Beethoven degree, the Alan Turing degree, Johann Gutenberg degree, Robert Oppenheimer degree, the Henry Ford degree. And these are all, at the moment, just placeholders for what the formal name will be sometime later. So all of these represent levels of achievement far past a PhD. So this is all an equivalency scale. So then early adopters to an alternative credentialing system like this will go to an employer and explain all of the learning that they were involved in outside of traditional education. And it can also involve traditional education as well. So microcredits will help us credential everyday learning. So as an example, you would read a book, and we'll have an assessment bot that gives you an assessment, and it'll award you 14.7 microcredits. If you watch a movie, it'll award you 3.2 microcredits. And the movie industry will embrace this rapidly because they will like the idea of being able to say that this movie is worth 3.2 microcredits, and that gives you a reference to tell your parents, hey, I need money to go to this movie because I'm learning a lot that way. So the same with listening to podcasts, listening to a TED Talk, watching a documentary, attending a meeting, all kinds of things would be awarded microcredits. So this is rewriting the rules for achievement. So an assessment bot will evaluate learning experience and translate into microcredits, and then microcredits becomes the new currency of learning by recognizing the value of daily experiences. This system will have the ability to reimagine the whole educational landscape, honoring all forms of knowledge acquisition. Okay, now I'm going to shift gears here a little bit and then show you how all this ties in to this new topic here. New topic is designer babies. Very soon, pregnant women will have the option to go to a geneticist to discuss enhancement options for their unborn child. So a designer baby will not only give you the hair color, lip shape, lash length, and ear style that you've requested, but it'll also be bigger, stronger, more durable, intensely bright, physically efficient, with greater life expectancy. Super resilient, super confident, and just plain super. So we're going to refer to these as super children. These super children are going to enter our school systems, and we will struggle with ways to super educate the super mind. Some super kids will know more than all their teachers combined by the time they're in 5th grade. We'll need to invent new ways to engage super kids both physically and mentally. So if you can imagine a 9-year-old kid that's fluent in 27 languages, who's completed the equivalency of 7 PhDs and is capable of doing mental dictations while simultaneously coding algorithms for video games, reading a book, watching television, and riding bicycle all at the same time, and then you'll begin to start understanding the challenges ahead. So a really good question to ask is, what will be the lifetime value of a superhuman? Because I think this is inevitable. We're going to go down this path. We're going to go down this path, and it won't be in my lifetime, but very soon here. So the lifetime value of superhumans may indeed be 100 times greater than the average person today. So one superhuman may add as much as $1 billion to the global economy. Now, if this is the case, then it becomes this mad race for all the countries in the world to want to have the most superhumans as part of their citizenry. So they're going to come up with different plans to encourage more superhumans. They may even pay moms to spend time in luxury resorts, plus salary, plus bonus when the baby's born, to encourage more superhumans. So this is a complete baby moon vacation. But super babies will not always be super. Imagine that. They will have little patience for those that can't keep up and quickly relegate slow thinkers to a lower status. And yeah, super kids will start throwing super tantrums. So they will also attempt to rewrite the rules for status, privilege, and prominence. So the pace of change is mandating that we produce faster, smarter, better graded humans, but our current systems are preventing that from happening. And it's simply not reasonable to think that tweaking our current systems is suddenly going to start producing exponentially better results. So if we ask the question, how many Einsteins and Mozart level geniuses are born in every million people? And then naturally ask the other questions of, can there be more and should there be more? So during times of great chaos comes great opportunity. So the role of education is changing, but it's no longer possible to actually predict the educational needs of business 4 to 5 years in advance anymore. It's changing too quickly. So the human race has an unwritten mandate to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. Libraries aren't good enough. colleges are not fast enough, and technology still has a poor interface for the human mind. But changes are happening very quickly. See, our educational system today has been based around the just-in-case learning method, which ends up being a real poor fit for our just-in-time business world. See, very little of what gets produced, the accomplishments in college today, actually has any relevance in the world around us. So this will set the stage for accomplishment-based education. So unlike traditional apprenticeships or other types of education, we'll be able to actually produce things that have some sort of value. So there are many types of achievement that have the equivalent of a college degree. So let's think this through. If you decide you want to write a book as an example, you write a book, you have an AI bot that's coaching you through the process of writing a book. You create the characters for the book, you create the story arc, you create a great ending for the book, and then it coaches you through the entire process of writing this book. And then when you're finished, then you have something you can publish and you're glad to show all your friends. The same goes as if you're designing a video game. If you design a video game, it will show you how to create the storyline for the video game, how to gamify each of the different features in what you're producing, and by the time you're finished, then you can show all your friends that you actually produced this video game. And the same goes as if you're going to invent a product or produce a documentary or learn a new business or found a movement or produce a podcast series, or just become an expert on some other topic. All of these things become possible when you have an AI coach bot that's coaching you through the entire process. Now, let me just mention this. This opens the door for rewriting the rules for learning. So if, as an example, you've just watched an Olympic athlete, an Olympic gymnast that's doing this floor routine and doing all these flips and twists in the air, and you want to do something like that, you then can put on a tight-fitting bodysuit like this gentleman's wearing, and it will have muscle stimulators built into the side of it, and an AI system will actually reverse engineer what this Olympic gymnast did, and then you can actually attempt to do something that's physically outside of your realm, because it will fire the muscles at the right time while you're going through this routine. Now, naturally, you're not going to be as good as the Olympic gymnast, but after going through it hundreds, maybe thousands of times, you could get that good, and that's a new way of learning that's not been explored yet. So, could colleges create a specialized degree for esports, offering a blend of athletic training, team strategy, and game development? How could colleges incorporate the study of game theory and psychology and digital media into an esports degree program? Would they be able to offer esports scholarships? Sit around and play games all the time. And what industry partnerships might be needed to create a robust esports program? And by the way, there's a lot of money in esports right now, so that might be possible. So what career path could graduates of esports programs pursue, and how might colleges help facilitate this career opportunity? And by the way, you need to look like that if you're going to be an esports athlete. All right, let's think through what the physical campuses for a college might be in the future. How will the physical design and architecture of future college campuses evolve to accommodate new learning systems? What architectural innovations might be necessary to support advanced technologies like VR and AR in learning spaces? And how could outdoor spaces be used to transform the future campus design? And then what role will smart buildings and IoT devices start playing in creating adaptive and interactive learning environments? All right, robots. I've talked a lot about robots. I'm going to talk a little bit more about them. See, when it comes to designing machines to replace humans, we often forget how enormously complex we are. When we wake up in the morning and go put on our makeup or fix our hair in the morning or shave, If we have an interactive mirror, will this be working with a robotic mirror? Will we have recommendation engines built into our closets? Will we refer to this as a robotic closet? Will robot doctors just be an extension of our current doctors? Will we still own our own cars? Or will we consider driverless cars to be robots? Will we refer to our delivery systems as robots? Will we spend our vacation time in space or on the moon? Will we talk about that as vacationing with the robots? Will robot pets replace real animals in our future? Will we be able to talk back and forth to our robot dogs in the future? And how will robot dogs interact with real dogs? See, children born in 2040 may never learn how to drive, cook, or wash their own clothes because the robots will become the omnipresent personal assistants. As we surround ourselves with robots, will we feel more or less lonely in the world? And will there be employment opportunities? What will the employment opportunities be in a world obsessed with robots? And how can colleges adapt their engineering and science programs to accommodate increasingly sophisticated robot degrees? What kind of cross-disciplinary programs need to emerge to integrate robots into healthcare, environmental sciences, and the arts? How will hands-on robotic labs be designed to ensure all students can engage and will be benefited from the advanced robot technology? So all of this is a start of this question mapping technique. Now, to actually build out answers to this, with question mapping, you start with a question you don't know how to answer, and then you ask the who, what, when, where, how, and why, and what came before and what comes after. And then there's a series of other questions that you can ask to make that happen. And you get very close to the answers if you don't actually get an answer. So as William Gibson used to say, is that the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. So I'm going to make a project proposal here. This is a proposal for Copernicus University. And we're going to call this the Econ 101 competition. So we start with the defined piece of learning. Econ 101 is a class that's taught in virtually every college in the world. So it's a defined piece of learning. And so we start with that, and we create this competition to transform Econ 101 so people can learn it quickly with maximum retention and certified results. As soon as this gets announced that this is going to be a global competition to transform Econ 101, the entire world will quickly take notice. So there's going to be 3 distinct steps: the learning, the retention, and the certification. There might be more steps as we think through the entire process. So as an example, if somebody was a movie producer and they decided they wanted to take Econ 101 and turn it into a dramatic video that might last 2 hours, you can compress the entire learning for a 12-week or 13-week course into 2 hours. It might be a dramatic storytelling operation, very high retention, something that people will absorb and remember for a long time, and be able to answer all the questions at the end. So the same goes as if you were a video game designer and you were to look at Econ 101 and you came in there and said, well, we can gamify these aspects of Econ 101. We can turn this into a game where we can actually level up here and level up there. And then people will understand how economics works through the gaming, through traditional gameplay. And the same goes as if you had a social media influencer come in. They would look at it through an entirely different lens. If somebody was a VR creator, again, they would look at it through an entirely different lens. And so the idea is to hold an annual competition for Econ 101. And the top prize would either be $1 million or all the way up to $10 million, depending on what funding is available. Now, the judging criteria for something like this will have to be refined, but possible judging criteria will include things like the overall learning time. How long does it take to learn this? We shouldn't need to spend this much time in classrooms to learn Econ 101 if we can do it this way, this new way. The degree of engagement, how enjoyable was it? Would you do it again? How memorable was it? And then repeatability. Can it be repeated with other subject matter like psychology, computer science, mechanical engineering, etc.? The cost to benefit ratio. Can this new form of learning be replicated efficiently? Does it require some new type of equipment? Does it require learning take place in a certain time, place, or under certain conditions? And then rinse and repeat. Turn this into an annual competition that's repeated again and again. So whatever you start with, that becomes the baseline for the next year's competition. So my thinking is, if you create a competition like this, then after 10 years, we can't even imagine what that would look like, what they would come up with 10 years from now. So the future is ours to create. We're entering a world that will require higher caliber people, and it's preposterous for us to think that just tweaking our existing systems can start producing better results. So each of us has one mind, one body, one life. Whatever we do to increase our capabilities will make us more valuable on the world stage. So with the help of AI, people in the future will view themselves as being in a constant state of improvement. We're going to become exponentially more fixable, trainable, repairable, improvable, and even reinventable. It will no longer be about who we are today, but who we have the potential to become. So when it comes to self-improvement, we have met the enemy, and it is us. Ironically, we need to step aside so that AI and automation can help us unlock the person we were truly meant to be. So we're entering a period that will be unprecedented opportunity. Why is this period so important? Because humanity is going to change more in the next 20 years than in all human history. At the same time, our risk factors are going to increase exponentially. We create more and more breaking points along the way, so lots of things can go wrong. And our children's children who haven't even been born yet, they're counting on you. They're counting on the people in this room to make great decisions. As Steve Jobs said, right now is one of those moments when you are influencing the future. But sometimes our best efforts just look a lot like this. Yeah, pretty much just like that. So any of you that are interested in my book, Epiphanies, it's available online. Most booksellers are carrying it. If you're interested in my course, Future Like a Boss, I'm going to give you a 50% off code. Just use the code Copernicus, and it'll give you 50% off of this course. Any of you that are interested in the Futurati program, the podcast, Trent Fowler and I do this. It's on the futuratipodcast.com. Any of you that are interested in our newsletters, just send me an email and I'll be glad to sign you up. And I thank you very much for having me here today. Thank you.